All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. As you can see, my setup is a little bit different right now. I'm streaming from my phone. I was going to do this on my PC, but my PC is not acting right now. I can tell when it doesn't want to cooperate when I start freezing on camera. So it updated last week, but yeah, this was not going to be a good stream night from my Hewlett Packard here. And yeah, I will have to upgrade this at some point because I don't think this computer can use Windows 11. So I was going to cancel the stream, but then I said, you know what? Why don't I just use my phone? I actually woke up this morning thinking, okay, stream on the phone, change it up, make this a little bit more casual. Now, let me make sure I can see myself on YouTube. I've been saying this a lot lately. I don't plan on going long. It turns out Dr. Tyson-Johnson is going live in about 30 minutes talking about, I think I saw that the title of that was, I think, what do black men think about the current presidential race? Something to that effect. But I thought BGS was on talking about Project 25. So yeah, time is at a minimum for me right now. I'm trying to finish my book, and I'm in the final stages. But I wanted to jump on Passport OG. Shout out to Passport OG. He asked me about this, so I said, let me hop on and talk about Terrence Howard and his interest in science. So let me make sure I can see myself here. I'll play the intro and then I will jump in, and let's see if I can keep it tight. Please, whoever is tuned in, please let me know who is there so that I know I'm not talking to myself. Okay. The Black, this is a funny name. The Black Toxic Masculinist. You know, I don't know which age cohort you're from, but there was, trying to speak off here. There was a movie in the late 1980s called The Toxic Avenger. Okay, it was an 80s sci-fi movie, The Toxic Avenger. So your name made me think about that. Okay, thank you for the like. Let me just make sure this ad, yeah, okay, this ad is gone. All right, and see, Microsoft Word is not working with me here. Let me open this up one more time. Please like, share, and subscribe, especially if you are new. Right now, this channel is at 1,000, let me pronounce my words, 1,991, which means I'm 9 away from hitting 2,000. Okay. I'm just waiting on Microsoft Word here. Thank you to everyone who gave me likes before the stream started. That is always very helpful. As soon as Microsoft Word boots up here, I'm going to play my intro. There it is, which coincidentally is from one of my talks with Dr. Tyson-Johnson. Okay, if anyone wants to make a donation to the channel for this stream of consciousness, my Cash App and PayPal are here. I should be able to share this from the YouTube side since it's my channel. Normally, I would have done that from StreamYard. Okay, let me make myself a moderator here. Let me make sure I can share live links. Okay. See, that heart button is in the way. So I can't click the triple circle, the triple dots. I can't. I need another comment there from somebody. All right, give me 1 second, everybody. Please smash that like button if you haven't. Let me just do this. I appreciate that. Growing with Hudson. Okay. Okay, well, I guess I can't make myself a moderator since it's my channel. So my Cash App and PayPal are there if someone wants to donate something. Okay, let me play my intro, which consequently, or should I say coincidentally, is from one of my ciphers with Dr. Tyson-Johnson. And he is going live shortly. Because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. If you're not on social media, you wouldn't know what's happening out here. So hypothetically, you could get to election day and you might be looking at the results and saying, what happened? You know, how did this happen? So, okay. That's an important point. I didn't hear anything misogynistic in what you said. And also, I think it's important that you stated you're not urging anyone towards one side or the other, because right now in this country, it's like red team, blue team.
Right.
Without looking, go ahead.
I think this thing is black men. I think many of us understand that there's no real trust on either side of it for us. I mean, in one vein, you know, and I think I asked you this the last time we spoke, but I tend to talk to black men and I'll tend to ask them this question. Have you noticed a critical change in the quality of your life under either party? Right? You know, what policies do you see either party addressing that are specific to us, that impact us in one way or another? That's why I think even in the last election, for brothers that didn't vote for Trump or Biden and were just, you know, they didn't care where it went because they knew their quality of life really wasn't going to change to any significant degree. And when we started hearing black women, you know, real diehard about voting blue, and we saw some of the things that happened with Biden, you know, we were just leaning against the wall like, you know, now what? I mean, for us, the journey for any type of economic security, employment consistencies, being able to support families and so on and so forth, that kind of thing doesn't tend to change for us. So until we actually have politicians willing.
Because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. All right, Growing with Hudson, thank you so much for that advice. I pinned it to the chat. If anyone wants to make a donation, my Cash App and PayPal are there. The super chat is live as well. I'm a small channel, so, you know, anything helps. And thank you to the black toxic masculinist. Let me pronounce my words for this generous Cash App donation. Okay, Slick Rick has entered the building. He says, the economy was better under Trump. Dr. T and the guys he spoke to are tripping. Okay, I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Slick Rick. You do say a lot, and you always bring your flamethrower when you come. But I'm going to start there in the news, in the current events, but then I'm going to transition over to Terrence Howard. I don't have a lot to say about it, but Passport OG, shout out to Passport OG. He did ask me what I thought about this, since he knows that I am a STEM guy. Speaking of which, if you are watching this, this would help me out a lot also as well. If you're not subbed, please consider subbing to my STEM channel, Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. Over there, I talk nothing but science, and I am employing the House of Brands approach. So over there, I talk nothing but science, whether it's climate change. I'm not sure. I should say that here, because what happens is, as I'll describe, but I'm going to try not to go too long here, we are in a bit of an information war. I think those of you in the chat, you guys know what I'm talking about. But platforms like YouTube, they are strongly regulating information. Okay, so if you're talking about the wrong thing, you will get deplatformed. If your content will be removed, and if they don't like what you're doing, if you're saying something they don't like, you will pay a penalty for that. So if you're not subbed, please consider subscribing. I think this dovetails nicely into this discussion because the question is, I think my audience right now is for the most part melanated and Black. And one of the questions you have to ask is, are Black people interested in science? Okay. Do Black people, in terms of our participation rate in the STEMs, do we care about these fields? Do we like these fields? Do these fields matter to us? When I think there's going to be another debate, at least two more. Hopefully there'll be two more, or then maybe the candidates will decide they're not going to debate each other again. But when someone starts going on and on about climate change and the ice caps melting and the polar bears running out of food and carbon dioxide going everywhere in the atmosphere, as a Black person, do you understand the science of all that? Okay. Do Black people care about science? Anyway, that's a shameless plug. I have a few introductory points here. Then I'm going to get to Terrence Howard because I know Passport OG, I see you there. And Dr. Johnson is going live on his channel. I know some of you guys probably want to go hear that. So I call this Terrence Howard, catching up on Terrence Howard and some other things. It was a busy weekend. This was the weekend of my 30th high school reunion. So I zipped up to Buffalo and hung out there for a few days. And then I came back. It was a good time. It was a fun time. I saw a bunch of folks I haven't seen in a while. I don't live there. I live here now. And that's always a, when you're talking about high school reunions, I don't know if any of you have gone to yours, but it's always a bit of a thought-provoking time. You're getting older, or, your cohort, they're getting older. And, folks, some folks from my class, I think two ladies had strokes. So they suffered strokes over the last 10 years. And one gentleman suffered a massive heart attack a couple of years ago. And there were about 8 people from my class that died. One buddy died at the beginning of this year. And so it's an interesting time. My cohort were in kind of the midlife right now. So that was that. So different worlds and then politics. You guys know that I've been running with the different world theme. AW, I am a Buffalonian. Go Bills. Let's go Buffalo. Yeah, I'm from Western New York. So politics, current events, living in different worlds. Okay, existing in different worlds. I've Passport OG. That's right. Yeah, the ladies, I think when they had the strokes, they were in their 40s, and the gentleman who had the massive heart attack, he was in his 40s as well. We're not going to speculate about what the cause of that was, because we know that there have been side effects with the medication prescribed for the global health crisis. But I don't want this removed. I just got finished talking about YouTube and how they treat content that they don't like. So we'll just leave that there. But yes, these people were relatively young they're relatively young to have had those things happen to them. Okay, so obviously I'll start with this. First of all, can you guys see me okay out there? I'm looking at my screen here and I look a little choppy. Can you guys see me okay? Do I sound okay? Let me know there in the chat. Yes, no, maybe. Loud and clear. Akuteki says loud and clear. Thank you, Akuteki. Appreciate that. Okay, so yeah, so your 30th high school reunion. You see folks you hadn't seen in a while, dancing, drinks, getting reacquainted, seeing the old structure, and also I got out there and played a game of basketball for the first time in a while. I've had some surgeries on my lower body, so I technically was not supposed to be out there doing something like that. But yeah, I got invited to some runs on a Saturday morning, and there was a little prayer circle ahead of time, and so it was there to be a safe space. And the game has a way of calling you when you're sitting there watching, and you see guys running up and down the court. The game, the ball, the hoop, it all has a way of calling you out there. So I ran one, scored one. I scored one basket too. But your body forgets. Your mind knows what to do, but your body forgets. Okay. Current events, politics. So you guys, there's a lot going on right now, and I've been pretty tight-lipped about what's going on in terms of the presidential elections and the politics. And there's a group of us from my job, and black men, a group of black men, and we text, and we were talking about the happenings from Saturday. I found out about what happened on Saturday regarding number 45 from another buddy, and as a federal employee, and just in general today, you have to be careful about, I think, what you're saying online, because these things are a permanent record, and you never know who's looking you up to see what you said and who you were talking to. But what I will say is that I've been tight-lipped about a lot of the stuff for a reason. I need to be careful about talking about presidential politics and politics in general out loud. But different worlds. Some of what was talked about in cyberspace, I experienced. I will say that one relative, I'm going to keep this vague, made light of what happened on Sunday, and I'll keep this discreet. He made light. They made light of what happened by saying, if the person was just a little bit more to the right, if the person was just a little bit more to the right, if the person was just aimed just a little bit more to the right. Okay, I think you guys know what I'm talking about. This was a black boomer. So this was an individual who thinks that President Trump is the devil. So I just kind of sat there, nodded and smiled and laughed it off. And going to the theme of different worlds, my dear sweet mother, that was her first time hearing about what happened, because she's not on social media, and she probably didn't watch the news on Saturday night. But people hear about the news at different times. People hear different news, and yeah, we're literally living in different worlds right now. There was a lot of talk about whether or not those events were real based upon our current times. I did kind of wonder about that myself, but to me, it was real. It was legitimate. And I think that, if that had happened, this country would, well, who knows what would be happening right now. Would it be good? Different worlds. Who's hearing what? Who's listening to what? Two things, and then I'm gonna get to Terrence Howard because it's 7:31. My mother watches my content. I just mentioned her, and a lot of people don't know the totality of what's happening in this country right now, and they don't know where some of these issues came from. A lot of people live in their own silos. They live in their own bubbles. Okay. So when I got home on Thursday, Thursday night, and me and my mother had a chance to talk on Friday. She shared with me that she saw my Richard Reeves panel content, the Stephanie Rule, Wes Moore, Michael Stroutmanis, the male loneliness panel. She revealed that she saw that, and she said it just like the whole prospect of the country and the world depopulating, and the genders being on opposite sides. And my mother remarked, that's scary. It's scary to think about. Okay, it's scary to think about. But if you're watching MSNBC, Joyanne Reid, they're not reporting on this. Simone Sanders, they're not reporting on this. Rachel Maddow, they're not reporting on this. Okay. In some ways, they may be in support of what's happening because of their particular political agendas. But she did say, and I'm going to attempt to paraphrase this. She did say it's kind of scary that this is going on. These types of things are going on. And also, number one, she did point out that back in the day, women didn't have rights. They couldn't own checking accounts. They couldn't buy property. And many women were abused under the old order. But she did also speculate, I wonder how people years ago didn't foresee the consequences of, well, I'll just say decentering men or weakening men's place in society and ultimately weakening the family. She said, I find it hard to believe. I don't see how people years ago could have not seen these outcomes coming. And how you respond and how you feel about what I just said is going to depend upon where you sit and what your outlook on the world is. Okay. And however that hits you, I can't control how that hits you. But some people will be offended by that. There are people who are in support of decentering men and fewer men thriving and men checking out, laying flat. I think in China they call it laying flat, and playing video games and those things. There are people who think that that's okay. If this is just we're evolving and this is just what's happening right now, and whatever happens. Okay, so that was significant. Okay, there are people who don't know. Okay, there are people who are not privy to this, to any of this. Okay, this one might get me in hot water, depending upon who's watching. All right. One of my buddies from my high school reunion, and we're close friends. We got to talking about all the political stuff. Please smash the like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Some of you guys know that I did a pre-record maybe at the beginning of the year talking about how something the late Kevin Samuel said related to what Malcolm Gladwell said. That video is in my library. Okay. Basically, one of my friends, because we would all talk, and some of us were on the internet and some of us were in these digital spaces talking about these things. And for people who are not in the digital spaces, again, they don't know. So the things, if you watch, well, salute to Mr. Z, watch Manosphere content and non-Manosphere content. I watch both. So salute to Mr. Z. I believe in that. So I watch a lot of things. And me and my friend, we were going back and forth about the deficit, the national deficit. We were going back and forth about the border. Okay, all the people coming into the country and we don't know who they are. He is not used to talking about these things. So when people hear new things, they're skeptical. But what was interesting was he told me, okay, so, if this offends you, you don't have to watch any further. You could turn this off. Okay. He said, you and Abdul, you guys were, you guys watched Kevin Samuels, years ago, and I didn't understand what you guys were saying, and I didn't like what you guys were saying, but he said, I kind of see what that stuff is all about now. Okay. And it was funny because I didn't bring it up. I didn't bring, like as I said in a live stream a couple of months ago, I didn't bring Kevin's name up. That was the furthest thing from my mind. But my buddy, we were talking about the election and current events and the candidates and the southern border and the deficit and what all the issues are. And he brought that up. He said, you know what? I kind of see what you guys were talking about now. And that was interesting to me because people don't know. And when they hear something foreign, they may not necessarily like it or understand it. But once they have time to sit down and look around them and look at the current circumstances and they hear some of the messaging, sometimes that light bulb turns on, or they gain a level of understanding. Okay. They gain a level of understanding. So that was significant to me. Different worlds, people are living in different worlds. And some people don't know that any of this stuff is going on. The stuff Dr. Thunder talks about on his channel, we're talking about doing a Q&A. A lot of people don't know that that's going on because they live in their bubble. Okay. So that's what happened. If I'm tight-lipped about some things, that's why. Okay. And so Terrence Howard. So I'm at 26 minutes, going on 27. Passport OG, this is for you. This is not going to be anything too profound, but thank you. First of all, thank you, Passport OG, for bringing this to my attention because I didn't know. I'm working on my book. I'm trying to finish my book, and there are certain things that I watch. I didn't know this whole thing happened with Terrence Howard and the science. Growing with Hudson says, question, do you think either red or blue care about the people? That's a really good question. Do they care? I think some do. I think politics now is definitely influenced by dollars. It's influenced by the wealthy. Okay. And in the case of population and an economy, having a thriving economy, I believe you do need bodies. You do need bodies. You need taxpayers. You need people to buy the goods and services. You need people to build the roads, maintain the roads, build the railroads, maintain the airline runways, all those things. So in that regard, I think they do care. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr. called the red and the blue team both corporations. Okay, they're both corporations who don't want competition, and so that suggests that they're not necessarily doing or interested in doing what's right for the people. Okay, and well, what conservative actually means, I'll save that for another discussion. But Passport OG wanted to hear about what I thought about Terrence Howard, and so I'm gonna get to that, and then I'm gonna wrap this up. So once again, thank you, Passport OG, for bringing this to my attention. I watched some of his discussion with Joe Rogan. I watched his discussion with Eric Weinstein. Do you guys know who Eric Weinstein is? First of all, Eric Weinstein. Do you guys know who Eric Weinstein is? Well, let me zip it first, and then I'll delve it a little bit further. Do you guys know who Eric Weinstein is? Because the last discussion with Terrence Howard, I believe, was on the Joe Rogan show with Eric Weinstein. I'll bet Aquateki knows who he is. Older man with curly black hair, Eric Weinstein. Anybody? Okay, I'll cut to the chase. He's a physicist. Eric Weinstein is a physicist. Okay, and when Claudine Gay got ousted from Harvard, Eric Weinstein was doing He was traveling the circuit talking about DEI and how many of our universities have lost their way, and how, and why she got ousted and why she was hired in the first place. Look up Eric Weinstein. I think he was on Tom Billy U. I think he was on the Chris Williamson podcast. He's made the rounds, but he's a physicist. That's the bottom line. So when I heard Terrence Howard, first thing, I'm from the old school, so I believe 1 times 1 equals 1. Okay. And Terrence, I didn't read everything Terrence said. I didn't hear everything Terrence said. But the 1 times 1 equals 2 thing, that's where I started to chuckle a little bit. Do you guys know who RBR is? Do you guys know who Real Brother Radio is? Anybody? RBR. Okay, if you don't know who, so Asada Muhammad knows who RBR is. How could you not know who RBR is? RBR, Real Brother Radio, is another content creator. He's kind of in his own little sphere now. He used to wander over to BGS's chats, and he used to, for a while, he was RBR. If you're watching this, respect. We have any. So he used to wander over. I first encountered him on Twitter, where he would get embroiled in these discussions with a group of guys. He's a bit of a black. Well, he's a bit of a black nationalist, a little bit eccentric. But he's got his own channel, and he does panels, and he's got his own little crew. But he would say some things kind of on the same lines as what Terrence Howard said about 1 times 1 equals 2. RBR would go on and on about 80% and increase. What would he say? He would go on and on about 80%. If he was arguing with someone, he would say that's a 2 + 2 = 7 argument. He would say things like increasing 113 by 80% is not the same thing as multiplying 113 by 80%. So he would say some pretty funny things, some really odd but funny things. RBR, if you're watching this, salute, respect. But so to make a long story short, when I heard Terrence Howard start talking about, I saw this head. A little eccentric. Okay. I don't want his wrath on me, but he would say a lot of things, and if you look him up, if any of you are curious, if my computer was working, I was gonna show it to you all. I was gonna show you one, but if you're curious to know what I'm talking about, type in RBR 80% on YouTube, and it'll bring up him in his old studio talking and going on and on and on about how increasing 100 by 80% is not the same thing as multiplying 100 by 80%. Long story short, when Terrence Howard said 1 times 1 is equal to 2, to me that sounded kind of bizarre, because that's basic, first grade to 4th grade math. Okay, so if we ever in mathematics, well, BGS said it's a philosophy. It's actually a quote unquote philosophy. However, pretty much everything we know about mathematics, whether you're going, up to, you're doing decimals and fractions and, trigonometry and calculus and algebra, everything is predicated upon the basics of 1 + 1 = 2, 1 × 1 = 1, 2 × 2 = 4, 3 × 3 = 9, 7 × 7 = 49. So if you're gonna, I don't know, if you're gonna go back and argue that 1 × 1 = 2, then you're gonna lose people immediately, and they're gonna think there's something wrong. Okay. I haven't watched a lot of Joe Rogan's show. He's at a much higher stratosphere than me, and he has, very, very high profile guests. Okay. And I think he even survived a bit of an apocalypse where people were trying to cancel him. So he's still here. Joe Rogan is still here. So I do think people like the way they like his curiosity, his inquisitiveness, his ability to interview people. I do think that when he had Terrance on, I think Terrance was on multiple times, and I think when he brought Eric on there, I thought that they were using Terrance for entertainment there. Well, at least Joe was, because Joe, it was his show and his platform. And I don't know if Eric was patronizing Terrance, but it seemed like the things that they were getting into and the way they were humoring Terrance, he was there for their entertainment. And I've left Neil deGrasse Tyson's reaction to some of the things Terrance presented to him below in the description box. And I left an analysis of Terrance's last visit to the Joe Rogan show with Eric Weinstein in the description box as well, where the host kind of, that content creator takes a look at that discussion and actually talks about, Eric knows this is wrong what Terrance is saying, but he's humoring him intentionally. He's not swatting him down the way he should swat him down, but he's humoring him intentionally and helping him to feel smart about what he's talking about. Okay. So I don't know, honestly, I don't know a lot about Terrance. He's a talented actor. Okay. I feel bad about what happened with him in the Iron Man franchise. He got, he was supposed to be Rhodey instead of Don Cheadle. He was in a lot of good movies, but I don't know what his interest in science is. I don't know, because a lot of what he was saying, it sounded an awful lot like the Kyrie Irving flat earther thing. So I don't know what his interest in science is. I think it's good that he's interested in mathematics and science. We need more of that in our community, but I don't know who's teaching him and what he's learning from. Now, he could be studying some other form of metaphysics or something, but I don't know where he's getting his ideas from. The other thing that stood out to me, and this was in his last visit to the Joe Rogan show, was he said there was only one kind of energy. Okay. And as a biological scientist with having taken coursework and training in chemistry and physics, there's more than one kind of energy. There's kinetic energy. Okay. There's potential energy. There's also chemical energy. So there were a lot of things that he said that were just kind of like, dude, what are you talking about? Okay. The Neil deGrasse Tyson video, I'm going to read some comments here because I'm almost done. I don't have a lot to say. I'll start here. Oh, looks like Slick Rick is debating growing with Hudson. Let me see what Slick Rick said. Okay, so there you guys were talking politics. Okay, so I'll jump here to, I don't know what you guys are disagreeing on. I saw Rust Belt. Okay, Aquatech, says 2 + 2 = 7 for very large quantities of 2. Okay, I think that's a nod to Real Brother Radio. Slick Rick says agree to disagree is a logical fallacy. The data proves my point. My brother Amal Dunbar is in the building. He says Terrance wanted to challenge the linear nature of long-standing math and geometry. Okay. And everybody, I'm just giving a high-level reaction. I'm going to admit I did not watch the entire Joe Rogan show. Snowman has entered the building. He says, "What's up, Dr. Dunbar? Sorry, I'm late for class." No, appreciate that. Let's see, more debate with Slick Rick. Amal says Terrance said he got into acting theater because he thought that's what his mom wanted. Okay, well, he turned out to be really good at it. Okay, Slick Rick says Terrance has been dipping into too much of the nose candy. Okay, Passport OG says, why do you think people have such a strong reaction to Neil deGrasse Tyson? Which Passport OG, in what context are you saying that? Because I talked about him numerous times over on my STEM channel, and others said, okay, well, he's not the only Black physicist. He's kind of the personality that was picked, and he's kind of like he's the one that they picked. Okay, but you should also, there was also Dr. Sylvester James Gates, which is why I did a follow-up featuring Dr. Sylvester James Gates for Black History Month. I think it was in 2022. But some people feel like he's not the best Black physicist that could have been put out into the forefront. Okay, now I did not agree with his supporting. Let's see, is there a safe way I could say this without triggering the YouTube Politburo? The transitioned men, I did not support them competing in women's sports. Okay. And Neil is on record arguing with Martina Navratilova, okay, and disagreeing with Martina Navratilova about whether or not transitioned men should be able to compete in women's sports. When he gave that position, it was like, dude, what are you talking about? Where are you getting that from? You're supposed to be one of the faces of science. Why are you taking this position? So that might have something to do with it. And I think that's been fairly recent, but I know that before that. And then he had some troubles there. He got accused of some things as well. But I think that has something to do with whatever pushback he's been getting in modern times. Anyway, so Terrance apparently wanted to engage with Dr. Tyson in science, and Neil rebuffed pretty much, let me pronounce my words correctly. Neil pretty much rebuffed everything Terrance said. And that is below in the description box as well. Okay. And I think Terrance took umbrage to what Neil said. And I think Neil kind of, if you watch that video, Neil kind of took the opportunity to have fun with this situation. Okay. So I'm gonna echo something Neil said, and that's that it's good that you have an interest in it, but it takes a while to become well versed in something. Okay, you just don't hop over and say, okay, I'm a scientist now, and I can refute this and I can refute that. You want to study it for a while, become familiar with it before you go into someone else's field and start, talking about, this is wrong, this this equals this. I know it's historically said, but this equals this. And a lot of the things that we know and we understand, it takes time to investigate these things and ground truth these things and to prove these things. A lot of work goes into writing just one science paper. But I'm at 45 minutes, and I'm gonna wind down with this. Do any of you all know what the Dunning-Kruger effect is? I know Aquatechy probably knows. Slick Rick probably knows. Has anyone heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? Dunning-Kruger. I'm going to pull up the official definition here on Google in case some of you all don't know. And there's a reason I'm laughing at the Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay. Does anybody know what the Dunning-Kruger effect is? Because Neil equated this with Terrance. And someone I mentioned earlier actually helped turn me on to the Dunning-Kruger effect. This person was being accused of the Dunning-Kruger effect, of exhibiting the Dunning-Kruger effect himself. Okay, so RBR over on Twitter, sitting in on some of his debates, many of them accused RBR of having the Dunning-Kruger effect or exhibiting that. So the Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias that causes people to overestimate their knowledge or abilities in a particular area. Okay, I'll read that again. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias that causes people to overestimate their knowledge or abilities in a particular area. It can affect anyone, but is more likely to impact people who are poor performers, overconfident, or lack the ability to be self-aware. The effect can have consequences in many areas, including work, politics, health, education, and social relationships. That's the Dunning-Kruger effect. So in other words, Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying, okay, he thinks he knows about these areas, but he doesn't really know. Okay. And Terrance is not exhibiting a high level of self-awareness with the things that he's saying. Okay. So he thinks he sounds smart, but people are looking at him and kind of scratching their heads and saying, what is he talking about? Okay. And Terrance isn't the only one. I mean, you see people do this at your job, people in your family. People in your family exhibit the Dunning-Kruger effect. I'm thinking about one person right now. It's essentially thinking you're smarter than you actually are, talking about things that you don't understand. So that Passport OG, that's what I think about what I saw regarding Terrance Howard. And Passport OG, thank you for this. I don't know which currency that is. That I mean, it's your Passport OG, so that's some foreign currency, but I appreciate that. 320 of whatever that is. You can educate us in the chat there for I know what a pound is. Of course, I know what a dollar is, but I'm not familiar with that symbol. Okay, everybody, maybe. Oh, Aquatechy says that is Japanese yen. Okay. And I believe the Japanese word for thank you is domo. I've worked with quite a few Asian individuals of Asian descent. I need to say this in a politically correct way, since someone might come back and watch this. Okay. Does anyone have any other thoughts or questions? I didn't mean to talk for 50 minutes, but I did. I was going to do speaking. I emailed. I sent a message to Trust. Some of you guys know who Trust is, and she's into horoscopes and astrology, and BGS is into astrology. I actually asked him to come over for Father's Day to do and uh, uh, talk astrology with me, because one of my relatives is very, very into astrology. He's a busy man, so he didn't. I never heard back from him about that. But I told Trust that I would read my horoscope. I'd experiment and read my horoscope online for the first time, my daily horoscope, because this particular relative is into astrology, and he consequently exhibits the Dunning-Kruger effect sometimes. So I'm going to read my daily horoscope really, really quickly, and then I'll wind the stream down. I'm trying to think, was there anything else I was going to say? Let me see if I have this picture booted up for you guys. The Dunning-Kruger effect. People criticize these online spaces, but you learn a lot from these online spaces. I've learned so much here that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. I've shown this over on my STEM channel. Well, I'll just do it since we're talking about science and what science is and what science isn't. Someone challenged me about 2 years ago and they asked me if I believed in science because of a political set of choices. But if anyone ever, and I've talked about this over my STEM channel, Aquatechi's probably seen this ad nauseum, but what is science? Science is asking why. Science is considering alternative hypotheses. Science is flexibility of mind. Science is generating hard data. Science is not believing things blindly. Science is peer review of that data if it's done correctly. And then it's also thinking critically and questioning things. So if you're going to refute something, if you're going to change something, you have to show data, and then your peers, ideally they're trustworthy people. They would have to vet that data and check that data. Okay, my daily horoscope for today. This is July 17th in honor of Trust and BGS, and also my other relative who sometimes exhibits the Dunning-Kruger effect. And some people, I actually ran into a buddy from my high school class who doesn't come to anything, and who didn't come to the reunion. Shout out to Chuck. I ran into Chuck the day after the reunion in Target north of Buffalo. And when we were younger, he said that he was of the opinion that astrology is witchcraft. I have to ask Trust and BGS about that. Is it witchcraft? Anyway, my daily horoscope reads as follows. Today, you could find yourself seeking self-knowledge through relationships. Virgo, especially through assisting those you love. Someone is troubled and needs your help. It would be best for all if you gave it, because you're especially sensitive and insightful now. You're especially able to soothe others' anger and mediate arguments. Your optimism is very high, and you have what it takes to pass it on to others. I just wanted to do that once. Maybe I'll do it again when I live stream. Chaos Rain has entered the building. Chaos Rain, thank you for stopping through. Once again, your logos, I love your logo. Those are fire logos. And everyone, that's all I've got. I didn't intend to talk this long. I've missed the first part of Dr. Tyson-Johnson's stream. If you, I'm going to close with this, and I may revisit Terrance at some point. But Passport OG, thank you for calling that to my attention. There's so much information now. There's so many things going on. It's hard to keep track of everything. It's literally hard to keep track of everything unless you're sitting at home all day just watching the internet. Okay. So I mentioned Dr. Tyson-Johnson is live right now. For those of you who don't know, and you don't know what a black masculinist is, or what a black masculinist turn is, I would encourage you to go take a look. Okay, his stream is going right now. It's called "What Do Black Men Think About the Next Presidential Election?" And he and I talked here on this channel to some degree about that. But I'm saying that to say, going back to my point, there are a lot of people who don't know what's going on. Okay, there are people who have said, oh, all those voices on the internet, they're negative, they're bad. Those are havens for lonely, hurt men. Okay, but there are a lot of discussions that are happening here online that are not happening on the outside. So there are multiple aspects to this complicated 2024 election. And if you want to know what's happening with black men and how they're going to vote and why they're going to vote in a certain way, I would encourage you to go over to Dr. Tyson-Johnson's channel and take a look. Right now, his stream is called "What Do Black Men Think About the Next Presidential Election?" If you are unfamiliar and if you are uninitiated, some of what you hear will surprise you. But Joy-Ann Reid, Rachel Maddow, Don Lemon, they're not covering this. Okay. Some other books I would recommend, and I recommend everyone this year to do your own research. That's something Amber Rose. Did any of you guys watch the Republican National Conference? It's the RNC, the Republican National Conference. That's what it's called, right? They actually rolled out Amber Rose. I didn't realize she had a tattoo across her forehead. Okay. Yeah, she got a tattoo across her forehead. She's not what you think about when you think Republican. Maybe she's being used as a tool. Okay. A lot of black people are alarmed that that Amber Rose is at the RNC speaking on behalf of President Trump. Some conservatives are unhappy that Amber Rose is under the tent right now. Okay. But one of the good things, I did watch the playback because I wanted to hear what she said, because people were talking about it on are you guys talking about the tattoo across her face? Why would anyone get a tattoo? Well, Mike Tyson got a tattoo on his face, but why would someone get a tattoo across their forehead? I don't get it. One thing she did say that I liked: do your own research. Don't trust Joy-Ann Reid. Don't trust Bowling Ball Martin. That's a Jason Blackism there. Don't trust Bowling Ball. Okay. If I see Roland, he won't like that. Don't trust everything Roland says and his crew. Don't trust everything Joy-Ann Reid, Rachel Maddow, Don Lemon, even Tucker, Hannity. Don't trust what they say. Do your own research. Look this stuff up. See what's going on. See what they're not talking about, because they're not talking about everything. And also look at both sides. Try to figure out where the truth is and what the most complete story is. Ron Wills, the field master, talks about this a lot of times. Look at both sides and read and open your mind and read. I'm going to close with some books here. A lot of people don't know about the growing number of unworking men. This is a good book, Men Without Work by Nicholas Eberstadt from the American Enterprise Institute. In a recent discussion, he said more women are joining the unworking legion now. So something's happening where younger people are falling out of the workforce or even losing their desire to work. So this is Men Without Work by Nicholas Eberstadt of the American Enterprise Institute. I've interviewed these two gentlemen, Dr. Anthony Davies and James R. Harrigan, Cooperation and Coercion. This is a good book. I was thinking about the presidential debates and, some of the arguments that are being made right now. One thing I learned from these guys were the concepts of positive rights and negative rights. Negative rights are rights that you naturally have, like free speech, like the right to bear arms, okay, the right to own property. Positive rights are rights that cost us. Positive rights are rights where the government reaches in your pocket and says, we have to pay for this so that everybody can have it. So positive rights cost everybody something. Okay. I interviewed them, Aaron Clary, Enjoy the Decline. This talks about the United States being a falling empire. You're hearing that a lot from both candidates. Dr. T.S. Johnson's book, Solutions for Anti-Black Misandry, Blackness, and Black Male Death. Okay. If you want to learn about what's going on with Black men in today's United States in 2024, Dr. T.S. Johnson is the authority figure for that. And he's from the academy, so he's not blowing smoke. All right. And he has choice words for Richard Reeves and Scott Galloway and those guys. All right. And then I just pulled this one off my stack. Our Kind of People Inside America's Black Upper Class. If you want to learn some more about the upper class and the Divine Nine, and because they play a role in this whole political process as well. Many would call them an overseer class. Oh, I'm getting myself in trouble. But there's a whole history to the Black upper class and the Boule and the Divine Nine and that whole world and cohort. So you got to do your own research. You got to read. You can't just trust Joyanne Reed and Rachel Maddow and the other mainstream news outlets. I'm going to read a few more comments here, and then I am going to wind this down. Aquateki, thank you so much for the generous Cash App. I don't like to say the amounts. If you notice, I just acknowledge the Cash Apps. I don't like to say the amounts because everybody doesn't need to know. But I have one of my salutes for Aquateki here. How about this one?
No sign of Decepticons here, Prime.
No sign of Decepticons here, Prime. All right, everybody. I didn't intend to go for a whole hour. I'm going to read some of your comments here. Aquateki says, we are not a monolith. We have our opinions. That's right. Isada says, tragic. I think this is in relation to Amber Rose. Aquateki says, nope, skipped it. It's not Republican National Conference. It's Republican National Convention. Tragic. This is referring to Amber Rose. Behave, Dr. Dunbar. I think this was referring to my bowling ball. I'm sorry, when the Black Authority says that, it is hilarious. He's savage when it comes to rolling. MM says, I wonder if there's a word missing. I wonder if they can finally realize that Amber doesn't associate with Black people, only to use Black people. I wonder how Black women who supported her slut walk feel now. That's one of the, for those who are watching this and who don't know, and who don't even know who Amber Rose is, well, Google is your friend. You can look her up. She used to date Kanye for a little while. But that's one of the criticisms of her, is that she doesn't know which race she is or wants to be a part of. Slick Rick says to Akuteki, nope, not a monolith, but a black Marxist. Black Marxists and communists love to use the word we and us to try to tie everyone together and keep the crabs in the barrel. Okay, well, Slick Rick, that's part of the controversy happening now with Representative Clyburn. He has his own nickname too. I'm not going to say it here. Auntie Maxine. She, you know, they some people have a vested interest in keeping us wrangled together as a massive we. And the folks who leave the we don't get invited to the fish fry or the barbecue. Asada says, I agree, Akuteki, she should have stayed on her slut walk. MM says, I remember Black women supporting Amber slut walk. I wonder how they feel now. And I think that is a good place to wind this down. So I covered a lot of things tonight, but I hope somebody got something out of it. Do your own research. Passport OG, thank you for the topic. If there's something else you think needs my attention and it won't compromise my life here on the outside, let me know. Everyone, this is Big Discussions 76. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to donate something to the channel, like these generous individuals have, my Cash App and PayPal are below in the description box. You can also leave a super thanks if you're watching this on the playback. And please consider joining the Big Words LLC newsletter. That link is in the description box below, though I didn't have time to send this most recent one out since I'm trying to finish my manuscript for my book, part 1 of my book. Yeah, and I think that's it. AW says, for your information, you went to one of the fish fries? Wow. Well, did Representative Clyburn, did he fry up some whiting, some croaker, what, some tilapia? What did he fry up for you? Some catfish? We didn't really have fish fries back in Buffalo, but in the Southeast, fish fries, it's what folks do. Fish and grits, and macaroni and cheese and collard greens. Ooh, AW says, good fish and fine women, nothing else. Okay. He has a nickname too that the Black Authority calls him, but I won't say it. All right, I'll just, no. I won't say it. But I'll give you a hint. It's a fried chicken chain located in the Southeast. That's what the Black Authority calls Representative Clyburn. He calls him Jim, that name, Clyburn. It's a fried chicken chain that begins with a B. Stop with the sloganary. All right, everyone, have a good night. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Do your own research. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.